Have you ever found yourself feeling like the peanut butter in a messy overstuffed sandwich? On one side, you've got a mother whose idea of love might come wrapped in control, guilt, or unsolicited opinions, delivered with a side of casserole. On the other side, you've got your own life, career deadlines, family dynamics, personal goals, and a longing to actually feel like your own person. If that resonates, welcome to the club I like to call salty and sandwiched. Salty because the dynamics can leave you upset, annoyed, angry, irritated, or bitter, dissatisfied with your reality and the reality of your relational dynamics within your family. Sandwiched because you are caught between the dysfunction you were raised in, often with your own matriarch wannabe parent, and the generational ripple effect of that dysfunction on your life and on your own children. Now, I don't call it that just because there are a few emotional crumbs and tears along the way. I call it that because this is a generation of people caught smack dab in the middle between the weight of a matriarch wannabe style upbringing and the pressure of creating a life that doesn't replicate those same patterns. Now, let me tell you, it's a lot. You're juggling ancestral expectations with grocery lists and healing journeys with lunchbox packing. It's like trying to run a relay race while dragging a bag of bricks and smiling politely at the cheering section who handed you the bag in the first place. Today, we're diving into the challenges faced by this in-between generation. If you feel seen already, pop a comment below. Your stories help guide where we go in future videos. If you recognize yourself in the salty and sandwiched dynamic, congratulations on the recognition, because it's by recognizing and working to overcome and heal that you can, step by step, change the dynamic, heal and show up as the adult child, partner, and parent who you want to be. And if you're ready to reclaim and mend for the sake of yourself and your loved ones, you can book a one-on-one deep dive. Check out the link below for a Mending the Mother Wound Tarot-led coaching session. It's designed to help you gently but powerfully unpick the threads of this tricky tapestry specifically for you. Before we go deeper, why are we talking about the salty and sandwiched? Because the plight of the salty and sandwiched fits into my overarching banner of internal relational capital, the emotional, psychological, and relational currency you build within yourself and bring into every connection you touch, whether we're unpacking the deep conditioning of the false village, healing the emotional imprints of the mother wound, or stepping into the transformative practice of alchemical leadership. It comes back to one thing: the strength of your internal relational world. This isn't surface level self-help or quick fix empowerment. This is about dismantling the inherited patterns that keep you stuck, reclaiming the parts of yourself that were shamed or silenced, and using that reclaimed power to lead in your family, your work, and your own life from a place that's embodied, conscious, and deeply aligned. Because when your inner infrastructure is solid, every relationship, including the one you have with yourself, becomes a site for healing, clarity, and true impact. Now, please note, not every parent with matriarch wannabe tendencies is an outright villain. Many genuinely love you in their own way, even if their version of love had strings attached or was more about control than care. This isn't about blame. It's about pattern recognition. It's about understanding where you've come from so you can decide consciously where you're going. I share this and the information in all my videos because I've seen the patterns time and time again with my coaching clients, and I've experienced much of what I share myself. This gives me the unique perspective of being able to see realities that you may very well be facing and may struggle to decode or articulate. And an additional note before we dive in. Some of what I share in this video and in all of my videos might feel like it hits close to home, and some parts may not resonate at all, and that's completely normal and exactly how it should be. We each come from our unique mix of circumstances, patterns, and family dynamics. What I'm offering here are the common threads I've seen come up again and again in my coaching work. So take what fits for you, and if something doesn't land, that just means it's meant for somebody else. Let's dive into the key challenges that the salty and sandwiched encounter. Challenge 1, the weight of the past, the wounded adult child. Being salty and sandwiched means you are not just navigating your present, you're dragging around the echoes of childhood. The voice that questions your every move. That's often not even your own voice. It's an internalized chorus of critiques passed down through emotional DNA. It's like dragging around a boulder that's tied to your waist. It's heavy, exhausting, and restricts you from flying. As part of that, we have internalized criticism. Your inner critic, she's often just your mother's voice in a new outfit. You try something bold and boom, there's that whisper. Who do you think you are? It's exhausting. Many adult children of matriarch wannabes or other toxic dynamics constantly battle an inner voice that mirrors the matriarch wannabe's criticism, leading to pervasive self-doubt, perfectionism, and a sense of never really being good enough. Their inner dialogue often becomes self-defeating, self-berating, and very negatively biased. This has a profound effect on the quality of their life and how they operate in the world. Let's see how this played out for Sage. Sage was intelligent, creative, hardworking, caring, and very capable. Yet she had internalized many of the critical messages that she had received growing up. Sage had taken as fact the messages that she was lazy, inconsiderate, and mentally slow. As with many of my clients whose inner self-perception can be inaccurate, it took asking Sage to view herself from an objective, outside observer view for her to see that her inner self-critic was far removed from what the facts actually were. Then we have blurred boundaries. It's like trying to build a fence with spaghetti. You want to protect your time and energy, but guilt or habit has you saying yes when you really want to scream no. The salty and sandwiched often struggle to maintain clear boundaries, especially when it comes to shielding themselves from their parents' continued influence. This boundary blur doesn't stop there. It often spills over into work, relationships, and parenting, often showing up as people-pleasing or simmering resentment. Over time, this pattern of overgiving and constant emotional performance can leave them utterly depleted, emotionally threadbare, and unsure where their needs even begin. Then we have distorted self-perception. The sense of self of the salty and sandwich was shaped by conditional love and manipulation, making it hard to trust their own judgment, discern healthy relationships, or recognize their authentic desires. It can often be hard for the adult child of a matriarch wannabe or any other form of dysfunctional upbringing to navigate what perceptions are accurate and for their greater good, and what is self-defeating and repeating the distortion either directly or indirectly. We then have unresolved emotional baggage. Those unhealed wounds don't just sit quietly in the corner. They burst out in parenting, in partnership, in the middle of the night when you're lying awake wondering why you feel so heavy. The salty and sandwiched often carry unexpressed anger, grief, resentment, and sadness from their childhood, which can surface unexpectedly and impact their present relationships. Because unhealed wounds tend to show themselves as triggers, undesired behaviours, and deeply ingrained coping patterns and worldview distortions that insidiously sabotage the long-term well-being of the salty and sandwiched. James navigated through his adult life with a regular undercurrent of anger. He was easily maddened. He would get angry with other drivers. He would feel his rage building if he was dismissed or treated inconsiderately. This caused many issues for James. It was damaging his relationships, his working reputation, and his own physical well-being. When we dug deep with James and uncovered the underlying reasons for his anger, underneath, deep down, was a resentment for the treatment he received from his matriarch wannabe mother, and a deep sadness for the care that he desperately needed as a small child, but never received. Challenge 2, navigating the matriarch wannabe, the ongoing influence. Even as adults, the salty and sandwiched is often still entangled with the original matriarch wannabe and other dysfunctional family dynamics, facing ongoing challenges. This creates a challenging situation where the salty and sandwiched is navigating their own wounds, creating their own life, and dealing with the ongoing behaviours of the matriarch wannabe. It's exhausting and confusing. It's like navigating through life carrying a sack of potatoes, walking through a heavy fog, and doing it while you're trying to keep a smile on your face. This can take the forms of continued manipulation under the guise of care. The matriarch wannabe likely continues to exert influence through care. The care can look like unsolicited advice, micromanagement, guilt tripping, and many other forms. This ongoing manipulation makes it difficult for the salty and sandwiched to establish adult independence. Then we have loyalty binds. You feel guilty for wanting space, for needing a breath, for not picking up the phone at 8 a.m. on a Saturday when she wants to vent about your cousin's wedding. You love her, but the weight of obligation, it's heavy. Many in the salty and sandwich generation carry this same guilt. Setting boundaries or creating distance can stir up feelings of being seen as ungrateful or abandoning family, especially when the matriarch wannabe slips into victim mode. There's often a deep loyalty to people, to long-standing dynamics, traditions, beliefs, and behaviours, even when those ties aren't actually serving their well-being. Still, they stay entangled, pulled by duty and the pressure of unspoken expectations. Then we have emotional exhaustion between her needs, your kids, your job, your partner, and that one drawer you've been meaning to organise for 3 years. Where's your breath? You're basically a phone with 27 apps open and 2% battery. For the salty and sandwich, managing the emotional demands and unpredictability of the matriarch wannabe can be profoundly draining. It often leaves them with little energy left for themselves or their own nuclear family. They're caught in a constant push-pull, torn between the lingering dysfunction of their upbringing, the ongoing pressure of the matriarch wannabe, and the demands of their own adult lives. It's no surprise that emotional exhaustion sets in, making it incredibly hard to step out of the cycle, let alone find a clear path forward. Then we have lack of validation. You bend over backwards, and the response is silence or worse, criticism. You're the glue often holding it all together, yet no one seems to notice when you're starting to come undone. The salty and sandwiched often move through life feeling unseen and unacknowledged, especially by the matriarch wannabe. Their efforts, their emotional labour, their constant role as the bridge between generations is rarely validated. That lack of recognition doesn't just hurt, it reinforces deeper dysfunctions, like a distorted self-perception. When your struggles go unnoticed for so long, it becomes harder to trust your own value or feel grounded in who you really are. Challenge 3, the unconscious replication, creating mini matriarch wannabes. Here's where it really stings. The very pattern you tried so hard to escape can start showing up in your own parenting. For the salty and sandwich, this is often the most heartbreaking part of the journey. Without deep self-awareness and intentional healing, there's a real risk of unintentionally passing down the same wounds that shaped them. It's not uncommon to see their children mirroring behaviours once displayed by the matriarch wannabe, or echoing the coping mechanisms and emotional habits that the salty and sandwiched developed to survive. And this is the painful paradox. They're caught between the dysfunction they were raised with, and in some cases still navigating, and the difficult patterns now emerging in their own children. It can feel like standing in the middle of a loop that just won't break. Or as we said in the opening line of this video, it can leave you feeling like the peanut butter in a messy, overstuffed sandwich. Despite their best intentions and deep love, many find themselves feeling isolated, disheartened, confused, and often full of quiet grief, because no matter how hard they try, the dysfunction still seems to seep through the cracks. We will go into more detail on the mini matriarch wannabe in the next video, but for now, let's look at the patterns that can contribute to creating these mini matriarch wannabes. Firstly, we have modeling dysfunctional behaviors. You catch yourself micromanaging or pulling away emotionally, or needing your child to get it right just so that you can feel a little more in control. It's not what you intended, but when the only blueprint you've ever known is full of cracks, it's easy to start rebuilding the same kind of house. Without realizing it, the salty and sandwich can begin to model the very communication styles they grew up with, like emotional suppression or passive aggression, and use control tactics that feel like concern but end up stifling. Conditional love, even when unspoken, can sneak in. And children, as they do, absorb it all. They begin to reflect back those same patterns, whether it's the ones inherited from the matriarch wannabe or the coping behaviours learned from watching you survive. Anna was stunned to find herself on the receiving end of the same guilt-laced demands and cold disapproval she had endured from her own mother. Despite the fact that her mother had long since passed, it was as if her matriarch wannabe's spirit had slipped into the next generation. Her adult daughter now expected Anna to be a full-time, cost-free babysitter, dismissing her needs, time, and desires as irrelevant. The entitlement, the emotional manipulation, the unspoken belief that Anna existed purely to serve, it all felt painfully familiar. Watching this legacy play out through her daughter's words and actions was like witnessing a haunting. Anna had worked so hard to break free from the control and dismissal she'd once lived under, but now the very cycle she swore to end was staring back at her, this time in her daughter's eyes, and it broke her heart. Then we have projecting unmet needs. Sometimes, without meaning to, we place pressure on our kids to succeed in a way that we never had the chance to. We want them to thrive. But underneath that hope might be a quiet longing to heal something in ourselves. For the salty and sandwiched, unmet childhood needs for control, validation, or simply a sense of safety can sometimes get projected onto their children. It might show up as trying to steer their lives a little too closely, or living through their achievements in an effort to finally get it right. When this happens, parenting can become more about managing old wounds than responding to who the child truly is. The result? A parenting style shaped more by past trauma than by the present needs of the child. Then we have stifling autonomy. Sometimes out of fear, we clamp down, we hover, we correct, we try to keep our kids safe. But often it's not just about protecting them. It's about trying to avoid the discomfort or anxiety that gets stirred up in us. When the salty and sandwiched fear their children making mistakes that might trigger old wounds or reflect poorly on them, they may find themselves over-controlling, over-protecting, or micromanaging. In trying to prevent pain, they can unintentionally stifle their child's natural need for independence, repeating a dynamic they themselves once struggled under. We then have enmeshment, that deep longing to feel close, especially when it wasn't met in your own childhood, can sometimes spill over. Without realizing it, you may lean a little too heavily on your child for emotional connection. For many salty and sandwiched, this unmet need for intimacy can blur boundaries, creating a dynamic where the child starts to feel responsible for the parent's emotional well-being. And at the end of the day, they're just a kid who wants to kick a ball and snack in peace, not carry the weight of your inner world. Then we have the child's reaction. In essence, children of the salty and sandwich often grow up under subtle, or sometimes not so subtle, forms of control, conditional love, and learned dysfunctional behaviours. Over time, they may develop coping strategies that unconsciously mirror the very patterns they once endured, becoming overly controlling like the original matriarch wannabe, slipping into chronic people pleasing, or repeating a mix of the unhelpful and hurtful behaviours they were raised around. And so the dysfunctional cycle destructively continues. Challenge 4, the sandwiched squeeze, a constant internal conflict. The salty and sandwiched lives in a perpetual state of internal and external tension as they navigate all of the dynamics that we have described above. Some of the internal conflicts that they can face include being caught between generations. You're raising your own kids while, let's be honest, still managing the needs of your parent. It's like being the middle manager in a family business stuck in outdated ways of doing things. The salty and sandwich finds themselves caught between the demands and expectations of their aging matriarch wannabe parents and the growing independence and real needs of their own children. Then we have guilt and resentment. They often feel immense guilt towards their parents for wanting distance or setting boundaries, and simultaneously resentment for the emotional burden. They also often carry guilt for their own parenting shortcomings, even if these are unconscious. You're pulled in all directions and no one's checking whether you're okay. Then we have identity confusion. Who are you when you're not performing, pleasing, managing, or fixing? The salty and sandwiched often struggle to define who they are as an independent adult and parent, separate from the roles, expectations imposed on both their past and present family dynamics. We then have limited resources. There's not enough time, money, or energy to go around. And often the last person to receive any of it is you. But here's the truth. The salty and sandwiched generation holds the potential to change everything. You're the hinge between what was and what could be. You're not just sandwiched, you're central. The salty and sandwiched journey is one of profound self-discovery and courageous boundary setting. Their greatest challenge and their greatest potential lies in becoming conscious of the echoes and intentionally weaving a new, healthier pattern for themselves and future generations. As I'm sure you can see from all of the dynamics we have covered in this video, the salty and sandwich is at a pivotal position to either perpetuate or to stop the toxic dynamic. So what can you do? Let's look at something you can do today to help rewrite this pattern if you resonate with being one of the salty and sandwiched. If you grew up under the influence of a matriarch wannabe or within any other dysfunctional dynamic, the most powerful step that you can take is to invest in your own emotional healing. When you begin navigating life from a more grounded and integrated place, you're better equipped to handle challenges with clarity and calm, which in turn helps you respond more consciously and create healthier outcomes for both yourself and your family. The ripple effects of this work are profound. For many, healing becomes the turning point, the moment the inherited cycle of dysfunction finally ends. The following is an exercise that you can do today to start you on your healing path. It's called the My Greatest Hurt exercise. Do this when you're not in a rush. Turn your phone off, get a pen and paper. This moment is just for you. Number 1. Recall the situation, pattern, or moment from your childhood that still haunts you, the one that aches. Number 2, feel it fully. Let the emotions rise. Sadness, fear, grief, anger. They're not here to destroy you. They're here to be seen. Number 3, write it all down. Handwrite if possible. Let the ink carry your truth. Describe what happened, how it made you feel, what was the fallout that has happened since. Write out everything that comes to your mind. Number 4, keep going until something shifts. If you feel numb, write through the numbness. Keep going until you feel. Number 5, visualize those emotions dissolving. Imagine the weight lifting. You're choosing not to carry this anymore. Number 6, decide what to do with your paper. Burn it, freeze it, keep it, whatever feels most right for you. Number 7, care for yourself. Drink water, rest, cry. Let this be a turning point. This is one small but powerful way to stop the sandwich from swallowing you whole. This exercise aids you in processing the emotions associated with the situation, pattern, or incident thereby releasing their emotional charge and continued influence on how you navigate through your daily life now. Remember, what gets suppressed gets expressed in other ways, but that's a topic for another video. Now, I encourage you to not just be a passive viewer. Honestly, authentically do the exercise, because the more you are actively working towards your healing, the faster you kickstart your own recovery. If this resonated, say it loud in the comments. I am no longer a sandwich. Let others know they're not alone. Share this video with someone who's feeling stuck between what they were raised in and what they want to raise. Then like and subscribe. And if you're ready for the deep healing that comes from insights specifically for you and your situation, click on the link below to book your one-on-one Mending the Mother Wound Tarot-led coaching session. And if you're not done yet, watch this next video where we explore how the matriarch wannabe's influence can show up in your everyday life. You're not broken. You're just carrying too much that was never yours to begin with. Let's start setting it down, one layer at a time. Bye for now.